All right, everybody, it's 2:01. So hopefully everybody that's joining us is on, and we have a lot of material to cover this afternoon. So we're going to get going. Mark, Mike, am I coming through loud and clear?
Perfectly. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us today for the Colorscaping by WAC Artful Illumination webinar. We think you're going to get a lot of great information out of this. And so we're going to get started here, and I'm going to start the meeting, and we'll go from here. My name is Patrick Laidlaw. I'm Director of Business Development for the Integration Channel, WAC, and AiSPIRE. Along with me today is Michael Sabolcik, IoT Product Manager. He's based in Austin, Texas. And Mark Moody, our Controls and Product Manager, based out of Sarasota, Florida. So they'll be joining us today. One quick admin note. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. We will be doing our best to monitor the chat box during the webinar, as well as we'll have a Q&A at the end that we'll be able to answer some of those questions, any additional questions. If for some reason we do not get to your question, we will respond to you directly later on after the webinar is done. So thank you for that. Appreciate you following the rules and chatting there. Thank you. So our agenda, we're going to talk about who we are and how do we get here, just really briefly, meaning who we are as us as WAC and AiSPIRE. Why landscape lighting is important, tips to grow your landscape lighting business, the Colorscaping system by WAC. Mr. Sabolcik will lead that portion of the meeting, and then Mr. Moody will lead integrating Colorscaping into control systems. So I'm going to keep rolling. I want to make sure you guys don't get time to have that after lunch snooze, and so we're going to move pretty quickly. Who we are, we were established in 1984. We're still family owned and operated, second generation. We are a technology leader in the lighting industry, over 1,500 employees worldwide. We own and actually built our own manufacturing facilities overseas. So we're not an importer. We don't just buy things. We actually built the factories from the ground up, and then we also build all our product. We're completely and vertically integrated. So we design the product, we design the molds that we pour the hot metal into to make the product specifically. All of our products have a minimum of a 5-year warranty. We ship from 4 locations across the United States to be able to service you quickly. In-stock product, usually 2 to 3 days out the door. Made to order, which would be products you choose beam spreads or color temperatures for. At all 4 locations, usually within 2 weeks, oftentimes less. We have a permanent showroom, 10,000 square feet in the Dallas Market Center, next to the World Trade Center in Dallas, and an IoT office in Austin, which is where Mr. Sabolcik is. So how did we get here, and why are we doing this webinar for the CI channel? Basically, we recognize the integration opportunity in 2019. Previous to that, like a lot of distribution manufacturers, we considered integrators installers and technology experts, but it was really more or less AV, networking, and things like that. We didn't know what we didn't know, quite honestly. So we entered with a buying group. We entered with the WAC brand back in 2019. During 2021, we learned a lot in those first year to 2 years. We were talking about lighting to people who didn't know anything about lighting, probably wasted a little bit of our time and maybe some of yours, and for that, we're sorry. But we have learned, and we started a brand called AiSPIRE in 2021 during COVID. And that brand we actually launched at Virtual CEDIA in 2021, and it was a result of talking to a lot of well-known integrators in the field and listening to the needs of the channel. And many of those comments were, we appreciate WAC, it's a well-known brand, distributor-oriented, great reputation, but a lot of supply houses don't know how to make money. And it's going to be a challenge for us if product, for any reason, gets shopped around. And so we want to be able to make money and cover our time and efforts that we put into this. So AiSPIRE consists of existing product that is branded under the AiSPIRE brand, as well as exclusive and technology product specifically for AiSPIRE. Again, AiSPIRE is an integrator-only brand, so it's not sold through distribution or internet. It is specifically direct to CI. You have access to multiple brands through your integration account, and that is the AiSPIRE, the WAC, and the Modern Form Smart Ceiling Fan lines. And then you'll see the logo I have on the bottom of the page, Abacus. That's our technology piece and our technology brain. Mark will talk more about later, but that basically ties all of the products that we have together. You see in the back of Michael's screen there, he's got his smart fan, but it ties all of our products together. So why is landscape lighting important? This is what 8 lights can do. This, I cannot take credit for this picture. It was taken off of the Facebook group, Landscape Lighting. There's a lot of people that post pictures on there and challenges and things like that. but this is a before and after. So which would I rather come home to? Obviously the one on the right. If I were looking for a home in Michigan, it gets dark in the wintertime at 5 o'clock. And if my wife and I were driving around looking for a home, which do you think we would pursue? If I were a burglar, which one would I break into? So there's a lot of reasons that landscape lighting is important. We're going to talk about in just a minute. So moving on from this picture, I took a couple of other shots I just inserted in here for you to look at and the difference landscape lighting can make in your space. Here's a winter shot. We often forget about how beautiful landscape lighting can be in the wintertime, especially if there's a little bit of ice on the trees, a little bit of a crystal forest. It's spectacular in the snow. And then here's a walking path, and there's lots of reasons we want to light walking paths, mainly so our guests stay healthy and upright. And so we'll talk about that in just a second too. And this is a really cool shot. This is a picture we call silhouetting, where we put the light behind interesting plants to kind of light them from behind and shadow them in the front, and it creates kind of a cool effect. So why is landscape lighting important? These are basic reasons, but I just want to give a quick background as to why landscape lighting is important. Beautification, obviously, focal points stand out, textures that can't be seen in the daylight come out because we are playing with shadows now, not everything evenly illuminated by daylight. A lot of architectural features can be accented, so setbacks in the home, stone fireplaces, cupolas on top, roof lines that are really spectacular. It brings the building and the landscape together for like a resort-like feel. Understand that landscape is typically 5 to 10% of the cost of a project. So if we're talking about a $10 million luxury home, the landscape around the home itself could cost anywhere upwards of $500,000 to $1 million, depending on if they have water features, what types of trees they have, any statuaries. So we're talking about an incredible amount of money we're only going to enjoy during the daylight, and there's just no reason for that. So besides these other reasons I'm going to list, the beauty of it all is one of the major reasons, and you enjoy your landscape when it's illuminated from the inside of the home as well as from the outside of the home. So if you're sitting in your home and you have no light outside, you see yourself in your windows. It's called the black mirror effect. When a mirror is a glass with a black coating, and so it reflects yourself back to you. So if we put lighting outside, not only do you get to enjoy your beautiful landscape that you picked out or worked with your architect on, you also get to enjoy it from the inside, even in the evenings. So another reason is usability. COVID taught us that we really value our homes and our family time together. So we extends our time spent outdoors into the evenings. Patios, pools, children's play areas become entertainment venues. So it makes it's an extension of our home, and it makes the outdoors much more usable through the evening hours. Safe passage. So I showed you that path, and I said we want to keep our guests vertically upright. Hazards such as steps, low-hanging brush. A lot of people bury stone and we use it as walking paths, but that's many times uneven, and especially in the dark. Any slopes, whether minor or major slopes or changes in elevation, stairways, are all areas that we got to light for safety. Especially as we get older, our eyes change and we start losing depth perception. So if you have any older folks around or it's an older clientele, we really want to focus on the fact that any change in elevation we want to illuminate. And then security. It's a proven fact that well-lit landscapes deter crime. Call any police station in the country. They'll tell you that light is the #1 crime deterrent you can have. And it will deter people coming around the property. But if you have a state-of-the-art security system, there's a good chance they could already be in the house when that goes off. They're already entering, where light could deter them from even wanting to come. Remember that picture with the dark home and then the home afterwards? You know where the burglars are going to burgle. And then value. Landscape brings a property to life. So the National Association of Realtors, after COVID, the end of COVID, came up with a list of 11 things you could do to add value to your home. The top 11 items, they call it. So I'm only going to talk about the first 3. One is a pool. Now, pre-COVID, pools were almost a liability, but a pool is an added value now that we want to spend more time at home and outdoors and with our family. The second item on their list of top 11 is landscape lighting. And the third, just for point of reference, is a new deck. So landscape lighting is right up there with adding value to your home. If people have had it, they look for it in their next home. If they've had it, they don't want to, they're more attracted to homes that have landscape lighting, and they don't want to be without it once they've had it. So moving on, some landscape lighting tips. How do we get into landscape lighting as integrators? How do we bring this up? How do we position ourselves? Even if we don't do lighting, landscape's a great entry into the market because it's easily movable and adjustable, but we bring it up early and softly. So anybody that's on this webinar that has ever built a home, you know there's an incredible amount of questions and concerns and decisions that have to be made. I mean, it's overwhelming. And so you choose your architect and your builder and your floor plan and your wall coverings, your floor coverings and your appliances and your cabinets. The list goes on and on and on. So if you start talking about the outside of the home and they're in the early stages of the inside of the home, you might overwhelm them and send them off in the wrong direction. So when I say bring it up softly, we want to talk about things like, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I know you're not prepared to talk about the outside of the home at this point. We still have a long way to go, but with your permission, I'm going to put some PVC sleeves under the driveway, under the walkways, and under the patio. So when we get to the end of the project and we want to do landscape lighting and talk about the outdoors, we won't have to tear up your yard again to run those wires. So it positions yourself as the landscape lighting person. If the sprinkler guys say, hey, we can put some lighting in, they're going to say, no, my guys already got that covered. So bring it up early, but softly. Also plan for transformer locations. Our transformers are in a wet location enclosure. They can be hung on the side of the house, in a shed, in a garage, anywhere, even on a post. So many times we put it near the pool equipment. But you want to plan these because we're dealing with low voltage. There's a limitation to the distance we can run. So let's talk to the homeowners or at least the electrician and say, hey, I need an outlet out by the dock for dock lighting and boathouse lighting. I need an outlet at the end of my 800-foot driveway. I want one by the pool equipment because that's a great place to hide transformers, or behind those bushes over there in that corner where no one's going to be walking past. So plan that ahead of time. It'll make your job easier. And again, the homeowner is going to thank you later because you've already planned for this. And then lastly, we recommend partnering with a local landscaper. Now, some of these tips came from integrators in the field. Have your team do the install on top of the ground. This is a tip from an integrator. Lay everything out, all the wire on top of the ground, meet with the client at the end of the evening, have them sign off on everything, do any final adjustments and say, great, we're good to go. Then you call up your landscape buddy and say, hey, can you send a crew over here by the end of the week or early next week and bury all this wire for me? We're all set here. And many times this particular integrator said he gets a crew of 4 for half a day for $600. So we're not taking our techs away from programming. We're certainly not taking their skills or programming skills and using them to bury cable or paying our high labor rates to bury cable. It works really well, especially if you have a small or medium-sized landscaper in your area. Some of the big ones will do hardscape and softscape and architectural design and may even sell landscape lighting, but this is great for a small or medium-sized partner. Also, they get to meet your clients or possibly meet your clients. So maybe there's additional business in it for them. And then there's the opportunity of recurring revenue where you tell the homeowner, we're going to come out twice a year for whatever it may be, $375, $499 a year. And we come out spring and fall. We clean the lenses. We adjust the lights in case a pet or a child has knocked them over or knocked them out of alignment. We adjust the beam so that we're going to lower the intensity in the fall when there's no leaves on the trees and increase the intensity and widen the beam when that dogwood flowers and looks beautiful. So there's opportunities that way as well. And then lastly, why are we even here? Why are we talking about colorscaping? So why would we be interested in tunable and color? Tunable white is the big sell here. We discuss all the benefits of tunable inside on art and furnishings and everything else. And remember, we're spending $500,000 to $1 million in landscaping on a $10 million luxury home. So they've picked out some things they really like. Trees, statuaries, etc. Why are we not continuing that story on the outside? Why are we just choosing between 2,700 or 3,000 and putting it on the project when we can give a discerning client a much better product? So tunable white is the sell. Evergreens can be greener. We could do a cooler color temperature on evergreens instead of casting a 2,700 Kelvin, a warm white light on an evergreen, which makes that blue or green look a little yellow, almost dead. And we can actually put that warm light, we can tune the light to warm on Japanese maples, which will make that red just come alive and come on fire. So we're talking about tunable whites in the same scene here. Contemporary homes that are white or colonial homes that are white can look much cleaner, and brick and wood homes can look much more inviting with a warmer light versus a cooler light on those white homes. So again, we're tuning the light to the actual application. We have this technology. We've never had it before. Why would we not utilize it? Summer scenes and winter scenes also are important, as I spoke about before. If something, a flowering dogwood, which is white and beautiful flowers, we can do a cool color temperature and really brighten it up in the landscape picture. But in the fall, when those leaves are gone, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, we can dim that down a little bit, and we can show the skeletal remain of this beautiful tree, which is just as gorgeous in the wintertime. So you can set summer and winter scenes. We can tune whites on the same job. So again, imagine you're looking at this landscape. We've got lively looking evergreens, white flowering dogwoods, on fire Japanese maples. So we are actually injecting artistry into the outdoors, just like we do inside. We've been talking about this, and lighting specifiers have been talking about this for years. So the tunable white is the sell here. There are color options, and the way we suggest you present this is the color's free. It's a bonus. One of our own reps said to his wife, "Hey, now that this product out, I'm going to tear out our landscape. I'm going to replace it with color." And she said, "No way, we're not doing color. We're not interested. We're not. It's just not something that appealed to her." Vegas, Miami, there are certain marketplaces that kind of lean towards color, but if you make color the sell, a lot of times you're going to have to overcome obstacles to get past that. The tunable white and the artistry is the sell. The color's the bonus for game days, holidays, etc. So the color is free. And there's millions of possibilities, over 16 million colors, tunable whites and things like that with Colorscaping. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Sabolcik and let him tell you about the system and the product.
Great, thank you, Patrick. And while I'm going ahead and sharing my screen here, I do want to just take a chance to say thank you to everyone who joined. This product has been, I won't say a passion project of mine, but it's been a focus of mine and the IoT team for probably the past 2 years. I've been with WAC Lighting since 2019. I am the product manager for our IoT group, which makes me responsible for all of the smart products within our portfolio. So we started out in 2018, 2019 with our smart ceiling fan products. We now have smart recessed lighting. We have smart tape lighting, and now we're really excited to be launching Colorscaping. Just Patrick, if you could just let me know, is my screen coming through? Is my audio okay?
You're great, buddy.
Outstanding. So this slide introduces the portfolio of products that compose what we're calling Colorscaping. So to give everyone an idea, 2 years ago, we were charged with replacing our fairly lackluster color change landscape product, which was 3 fixtures. It was a well light fixture, it was a path light fixture, and it was an accent fixture. And as we researched the market, and as we spent time with folks both in the landscape channel, the green channel, the CI channel, we kept evolving the portfolio. And so this is what we were very pleased to have launched with. We have a portfolio here of 12 fixtures within the portfolio. We have our 3 accent fixtures, all the way from our standard accent through the grand accent, all the way up to our power accent. These just give you different size, different light outputs. The 2 smaller versions actually have beam adjustability built right in. There's no lens interchangement, anything else. The power accent, we do ship it with 4 different lenses for your needs. And with this portfolio, we're trying to reach the majority of your primary functions where you're going to want to have tunability of that white, as well as the ability to pop that landscape with color. So additionally, we have this wall wash fixture, which is fantastic for crazing and facades. We do have the in-ground. We have our 3 path lights. And one important thing I bring up, and when I'm talking to folks about this out in the field, this is going to be an evolving portfolio. This is just what we're launching with. As the market comes to us and tells us what their needs are, we want to continue evolving this product line. So if you have feedback, if there are other fixture designs that you think are going to be beneficial for you when you're out in the field, when you're showing this to customers, when you're installing this, when you're creating proposals, there are other designs that you need, please pass it up through to us because we're always interested in that. We have our hardscape line, also great for hardscapes, crazing. These are also very popular as step lights. And then we have our cylinder. This is a great fixture. It actually brings you into more the architectural lighting of things in addition to landscape. So these are very popular on pool cages as well as arbors and pergolas. All of these fixtures are tunable white, 2700 to 65 Kelvin. So you can go from that very warm white all the way up to a 6,500 Kelvin moonlight. One of our more interesting test installs, we used about 50 of these grand accents at that 6,500 Kelvin, installed 30 to 50 feet up in trees to create a moonlighting effect. Created a beautiful, beautiful effect just by using that much cooler white. And these fixtures are all full color capable. I have a star here next to the 6,500 Kelvin. The exception to that is our tape product. So we will talk a little bit about the tape product later. That is tunable white 2,700 to 5,000. So you won't be able to go all the way up to 6,500, but that is the exception within the portfolio. The tape lighting, this was our most recent addition to the portfolio. This connects, and we'll show you later, through a small box back to the same wiring you're getting for your landscape fixtures. But you can run up to a 25-foot section of this on one of those controllers. So really good. We had some interest in this for eave lighting, for kind of more permanent lighting in the eaves of houses, as well as use in hardscaping and other applications as well. Dock lighting are other popular applications of this. This is an evolution. If you're familiar with our previous Invisaled outdoor tape products, we have improved this with the addition of these new connectors. These are new inline connectors. If you recall the previous product, the tape would connect together, but you had a wire pigtail, an IP rated wire pigtail that would come out and was often hard to disguise. So we've actually improved that connector. So now we have that connector there. And at the end of the run, this can be trimmed every 4 inches. One important caveat there is you're only trimming that at the end of a run. We do supply a cap and some sealant to put on the end there to maintain that IP rating, but you cannot daisy chain once you've terminated that end. Additionally, we do have our Wi-Fi wall station. So we're going to talk about configuration and setup and user interaction with the product here in a little bit. This is just another option, particularly for folks without control systems, to have a hard place, a physical place to tactily interact with the system. So we'll be able to talk about that a little bit later. So what makes this special? What makes this, really the pride of our landscape portfolio? All of these fixtures, all of this capability, full color tunability, full color spectrum. We are doing this over the same 2-wire landscape infrastructure that folks are used to using. We don't have any additional control wires. We don't require shielded wiring. We don't require, additional DMX wires to each fixture. All of the communication between the transformer and our fixtures is over that existing low voltage 12-2, 10-2, 14-2 direct buried wire that you're used to using. You use the same connectors. We strongly encourage you, please use the waterproof connectors. Don't think you can get away with standard wire nuts, but that's really where the technology is here, is that we are leveraging those 2 wires to those fixtures to provide individual controllability of each fixture. Provide the ability to create groups of fixtures, or virtual circuits, as I call them, or virtual zones, as well as we can create lighting scenes as well that the user can trigger with one press within our app, within a press of the wall station button, or via an external control system. So this is the transformer. Up at the head end of this, transformers come in 150 VA and 300 VA, 150 watt and 300 watt. If that's your more familiar nomenclature. You can see this is a 2-wire system. We are able to use the existing low voltage wiring. If you are swapping out an entire run of existing fixtures with Colorscaping fixtures, you can leave that wire right in the ground, put the Colorscaping fixtures on that, wire it back to our transformer, and you will have full individual addressability of those fixtures, as well as that ability to group those fixtures, add them to lighting scenes, control them remotely, or via your control system. And we don't require any special wiring. When I say special wiring, if you are used to coming out of your landscape transformer with a 10-2, running down to a J box, splitting that off 5 ways, running to 5 separate sets of fixtures, you can do that. You don't have to wire them serially. You don't have to go point to point to point to point. You can go down to a fixture, tee off, go to 2 more fixtures. From those 2 fixtures, tee off to 5 additional. This is really about making it the most convenient as possible for you when you're doing the install. The transformer does have 2 zones. As you can see here, we have connectors for 2 zones. Zone 1 over here is where we typically say you're going to connect all of your smart fixtures, all of your colorscaping, all the 12 fixtures that we showed up here. Those are all going to get wired back to this zone 1. This is how we communicate with those fixtures. This is where our 2-wire communication technology connects to those fixtures. But then we also provide zone 2 over here. Zone 2 is for legacy luminaires and legacy fixtures. We understand that you can't possibly do an entire, to Patrick's point, I mean, if this is a $500,000 landscape job, they're going to require some fixtures, or they may simply prefer some fixtures that are not in the colorscaping portfolio. They're willing to accept them as standard white light, or maybe you're just doing an upfit. You're simply upfitting an existing set of fixtures with a colorscaping transformer. Well, you can use zone 2 for that. And zone 2 provides you with on, off, and dimmability of those legacy fixtures. So if you have a set of path lights that are in place that are architecturally in line with the house, and they want to keep those, you can wire those back to zone 2. You'll still have the ability to control them remotely via the app or via the control system. They will just be on, off, or dimmable. And you'll see that distinction when we get into the app in a little bit. I will say dimmability is dependent on the fixture. If it's not a dimmable fixture, I like to say we're not magic, we're good, we're not that good. If it's not a dimmable fixture, we can't have assurance that you'll be able to dim it via the transformer. But if these are MLV capable or phase dimmable fixtures that are out in the field, like a majority of our existing landscape fixtures in the legacy line, you will be able to connect them to this, control them remotely, and dim them and turn them on and off as part of those scenes and automations. Inside the transformer, this was a bigger hit than I really anticipated it being. We have included a local control panel within the transformer. Now, knowing who the competitors are in this space, there was an option where you had an extraordinarily comprehensive, complicated control panel where you could do everything and anything inside that control panel, all the way down to the other end of the spectrum where you couldn't do anything without an app. We opted to kind of shoot in the middle. We wanted to give the capability to an installer, someone who may not be the person commissioning this, someone who may not be the person running the control system, someone who may not want to use an app. We wanted to give them the ability to, once they've connected all the wires up, we wanted to give them the ability to validate that install without having to use an app, without having to download something, create an account, log in, connect the transformer to the network, which may or may not exist yet. So within the control panel, you can see we have zone 1 and zone 2 buttons here. And you can see it up here as well. You can use these in conjunction with the presets button. The transformer itself contains 12 presets, both color and tunable white, that you can cycle all of the smart fixtures through. So the first step, once you've installed those fixtures and wired them to the transformer, we have a little thing here that says add fixtures. You actually run through a discovery process. And this is part of the power of our 2-wire communication technology. Is the transformer actually goes through a discovery process, discovers all of the colorscaping fixtures that are connected to zone 1, says, I'm the boss, listen to me, and it can then start sending messages to those fixtures via that 2-wire infrastructure. So that discovery process, you go through that process once. If you add fixtures to that transformer, if you need to move fixtures from one part of a property to another, you just run through this process again. It's very simple. You press zone 1, you hold down presets for 6 seconds. The transformer will beep at you. The zone 1 light will start blinking. And you walk away and get a cup of coffee or an iced tea. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes for the discovery to happen. The lights will flash on and off a few times. That's just the transformer discovering who's physically connected to it. When you come back, you'll then be able to use the control panel to cycle all of the smart fixtures through those 16 presets. So you don't have an individual fixture control, but what you do have is the ability to know that, okay, all of these fixtures are connected properly. They're all getting power and they're all able to get commands and messages from the transformer. You can dim them up and down if you like, show the homeowner, hey, this is what these colors may look like. This is a great opportunity to adjust those fixtures. If you're installing this prior to the network being available or to internet being available on the property, you can come back in the evening, turn this on, set your lights to a desired color temperature or color, dial in those beam spreads, adjust those fixtures to get them really dialed in. And you're doing all of this without having to have an app, without having to be connected to the network. This transformer does have integrated surge protection. When we start talking about DMX and wired Ethernet, which the transformer supports Wi-Fi, there's an antenna over here on the side that you can't really see. We do provide wired Ethernet as well for connectivity to the network and to the internet, and we also provide DMX. One of the lessons learned that we incorporated into this transformer by working with folks like yourselves, working with landscape installers, is that when you're pulling wires through the ground, especially direct bury wires, they are a sponge for transient surge. And it doesn't take a whole lot of surge to take a fairly sensitive Ethernet connector or Ethernet chip or a DMX chip and send them goodbye-bye. So we include in every transformer this surge protection block. This is a sacrificial product. It is a replacement part. It's about $15, give or take. So what this does is this provides you some surge protection between the actual transformer itself and those control systems or the network. So that's very important as well, and it does protect them from those buried wires. So if you're using that, definitely encourage you to use that. Another tip that I throw out there, even if you're not in extreme conditions, here in Texas, we don't have a lot of salt fog. In Austin, we don't get a lot of extreme heat. But one other recommendation, if you're connecting to these connectors within the transformer, I do recommend using some dielectric grease as well. Put some of that on the connector. It's just belt and suspenders to keep you nice and protected there. And I already mentioned that we do have the DMX support, and I'll talk about that in a few slides here and how we can integrate that across transformers. So Patrick teed this up really well. If you're in early in the game and you're able to say to the homeowner, hey, let me put some PVC under your driveway. Let me put some PVC under these sidewalks through these planters. Because that's going to make life a lot easier for whoever does this. That's fantastic. However, we really, with Colorscaping, wanted to be as flexible as we could be. And so we actually have within the system the ability to create these groups. I call them virtual circuits, call them zones, and they exist across transformers. So when you're setting up Colorscaping with our app, the first thing you do is create a location. The location is that house, it's that property. And it's going to have all of the WAC devices that are part of that property. And by having them in that location, we can start to leverage those things within the sphere of that location. So for instance, with landscaping, this is just a simple drawing. I have some fixtures over here on a path. I have 2 trees on this side of the driveway, a tree on this side of the driveway. Boy, it would be really nice if I could control those all as one thing. And if you had, historically, you'd probably put a transformer over here, run a wire to here, go under the driveway to this one, to this one. But with Colorscaping and with the way the Colorscaping platform works, I don't have to have those things physically connected to the same transformer to control them as one group. So I can have a transformer over here for everything that's on this side of the driveway. I can have a transformer over here for everything that's on this side of the driveway. And then within the construct of our app, we can create groups that mean something to the homeowner, regardless of what transformer they're connected to. And this is not only applicable to 2 transformers. This is applicable to any number of devices that you have on that property. We have another install in Austin that has 37 transformers, near 200 fixtures, and we can create these same types of groups across those transformers to make them logical groupings. So for instance, you can see these 3 trees on this side and this tree on this side. That's actually one group within the app. When you're using control systems in DMX, you can do similar things to this in that you can, overlap DMX channels and have 2 different devices listening to the same DMX channels. And Mark will talk about this with the Abacus as well, how you can do these groupings. But within our native architecture itself, we can do something very similar. Once again, the wiring on this, there's nothing special about it. If you're used to wiring landscape product, this will be completely native to you. This is something that you just do every day. We don't require you to wire these in any sort of special way whatsoever. The app So within the integrator space, primarily the app is going to be your tool to commission the system, to set it up, to get it on the network, to assign those DMX channels to those groups, to create those groups in the first place, to create those virtual circuits that are going to be addressable via DMX. But the app also has other capabilities for the end user. This app was not specifically designed as an integrator app. It was not designed specifically as a homeowner end user app either. We try to be the best face to all of the personas we're working with. So you can see here, we've got within the app itself, we have the concept of favorites. You also see here fixtures. If I were to toggle over to that, you would see there's a list of 50 fixtures, however many fixtures are there. Not commonly going to be used by that end user. It's very rare that an end user is going to want to go, I want that path light and I want it purple. So we give the ability to create those groups and to set those groups as favorites, to be right in front of the user every time they log into the app so that they can use it. So in this case, you can see the front yard trees. If we select the front yard trees, we come in here. We see our 16 presets. These are selectable by location. You can reconfigure these presets. They can be color presets or tunable white presets. And these apply across the entire location. So if you and I'm going to insult someone. My wife's a Florida Gator. I'm not. But if I wanted my Gator orange and Gator blue in here as preset colors, I can set those in here one time within that location. And then all of the WAC smart lighting products that are on that location can use that favorite and use that preset. We also we'll have some fun here since I'm doing okay on time. I am going to take the risk here and we're going to go live for a moment. So you're looking at my phone live on my home right now. So if lights start doing weird things, then you'll know why. But in addition to those presets, we also have. So for your tunable white, you can slide anywhere between that 2700 all the way up to 6500, or you can use the color wheel here. And then for even that more advanced view, we can slide over here and we can either use HSV, RGB, or those hex values. Now, like I said, for each individual fixture, maybe not the kind of thing you're going to use every day, but when it comes to creating those presets within the system, this is very, very helpful. You can just type in the codes, set it once, and it's stored within the system for you to do that. And lastly, over here, and specific to the integrator, we have our DMX configuration. And so within the transformer itself, we can come in, we select the group that we want to control via DMX. It says the type. This is a group. You can also assign DMX channels to a fixture. If you have a single fixture, a grand accent, a power accent, something you really want to use and you want to be able to control individually, you can do that as well. We set a profile. Now, this is not to be mistaken for the profile on Abacus, but it's related. So we set this as an RGB WW profile, and then we enter a starting address. And then that starting address gets mapped down here, and it just shows you very simply the channel mappings that you will then transfer over to Abacus. And with that, I will transfer it over to Mr. Moody, who will be talking us through the remainder of the presentation.
Hey, Michael, thank you, Patrick. Really appreciate it. And thanks for setting the tone. Michael, can you drive for me? I think you've got the
Absolutely.
master deck. So if you just slip over to the next slide. I think Patrick did a quick intro and Michael did too. I've been working on control integration for a good few years. That's the gray hair that you can see right here. And enjoyed the opportunity to work alongside Michael on Colorscaping. In fact, at my home here in Sarasota, I have one of the early kind of production builds. I think I'm 47 fixtures, 6 transformers, full DMX, and I just saw I saw a note come out in the chat. I am running Homeworks QSX fully integrated at my place here. So whoever asked that question, yes, Abacus is a great interface to multiple platforms, but we'll get into that. So my little gig this afternoon, for people who don't know me, and I'm sure there are many out there that do, why integrate? What is it that you guys do better than us as manufacturers? You know, what's the purpose of doing what we're doing here? For me, you know, it's about balancing indoor and outdoor lighting, and having one common ecosystem that controls those things. We'll get into that, and I'll give you a topology map. But, you know, so what? Well, what does that actually mean? It means to me that, you know, we're capable now of matching CCT or white color across internal, external kind of fixture types. And it's not just about, you know, white. Patrick talked a little bit about color, you know, Michael talked about color, but, you know, those 16 million colors that we can render via Colorscaping, we can do similar things with Aurora internally. So how might we infuse some kind of blue into the outdoor lighting and then match it to an indoor, I don't know, game room or whatever you've got going on? Create that seamless kind of living. The ability to transition spaces, whether they're indoor and outdoor, have common scenes, have common timers, common automations. Michael created the relationship with DMX and groups and profiles and things like that. We'll dive into that in a little minute. And outside of that, for everyone, I think, concerned, you know, the ease of control. In the majority, if not all of the homes that we hope to be selling our product, you know, there's going to be some kind of control platform, probably. Not always, I must admit, but probably they're going to be there. And so for the client, you know, it's about appropriate, consistent user interfaces, whether they're apps, physical buttons, touch screens, you know, there might be sensors and things like that, but it's a common feel whether you're inside or outside. And obviously for you guys as the integrators, you know, you focus on one, maybe two platforms. And it makes so much sense to me that, you know, you take advantage of that platform and you control the internal, the outside, and the outdoor space. I think when we adopt those ideas, you know, it's all about simplification for everyone. If I didn't convince you about the consistent UI and platform, you know, let's think about the things that Patrick talked about, the soft sell or design on my little deck here. You know, how we might start to sell an idea, talk about a story, you know, initiate a journey map conversation with a homeowner. And if we've got this consistent platform, it makes that so much easier. Consistent, common freedom of choice for design and things like that. And then the install process, you know, that follows through. If you've got one technology type, one manufacturer type, and one platform to integrate with, it makes it so much easier for everyone else. First use, you know, we talked about common, consistent UI product. We're not asking a homeowner to kind of hit different buttons on different keypads and create those consistent scenes. And then obviously service. And service is not just about going out there, like Patrick said, you know, clean the leaves off and adjusting things. It's about understanding the capability of the devices, where they sit on the network, are they still communicating and things like that. One common bus type technology will allow you to do that so much more easily. And this might be a little bit of a stretch, but let me explain, you know, the enhanced living experience. Unified control of natural and artificial light. Sounds pretty grand, right? And we're not going to be turning the either the moon on and off or the sun on and off or dimming it up and down. But what we can do with an integrated platform is remove some of that glare and still render an appropriate color or intensity based upon the integrity, the ability of the fixtures. So, you know, control platforms are very capable of closing a shade, removing that glare at sunset, allowing some light through, but, you know, we can render that warmer color as the sun goes down. You know, I'm not sure how many times I've been sat in a restaurant and I'm sitting there looking at the water. I'm pretty lucky that I live by the ocean. Sun's dipping down, and then somebody closes the blinds because somebody's complaining about the glare sat next to me. I'd love to keep it open myself, but you know, they're going to close the blinds, and then you get that white light, internal restaurant type light. We don't want that. Let's talk about true integration. And as I said right at the beginning, balancing indoor and outdoor, whether it's color, white, or intensity. Next slide, please, Michael. So this might look like a little bit of an eye chart when it comes up, and I sincerely apologize to that. I mean, some of you guys have seen this either at CEDIA or at Lighterpalooza maybe last week. You know, we had similar schematics and topologies. don't worry about the detail too much on this. And I think this deck's going to be shared so you can reference it. But the point here is that, Abacus is a gateway between any control platform, or the majority of them. I'm not going to say everyone. Between the control platform and the devices that sit downstream of it on a DMX network. First thing I'm going to tell you guys is that we are fully compliant standard DMX protocol transmission. There is nothing unique about anything that we do. We adopted the protocol 100% and we deploy it 100%. What does that mean? It simply means that we can insert a Colorscaping transformer in position 1 that you see there. And then position 2 could be a light fixture, a DMX light fixture, part of the AiSPIRE portfolio, but not limited to. So where we don't have a solution, if there's a standard DMX type driver fixture that's available, and like Michael said, freedom of design, freedom of choice, homeowner wants to pick a different decorative where we don't have a solution, stick it on the same network. It doesn't have to be unique in any way. And then further downstream, obviously, we can add Colorscaping transformers, we can add other fixtures, and continue to communicate across them in a standard packet deployment kind of situation. There are a few little kind of gotchas about this, nothing too complicated, but adopting the standard protocol, pushes us to talk about end-of-line termination, talk about standard 3-wire kind of connectivity, DMX positive, negative, and a ground shield, or whatever you want to talk about. But we make that as easy as possible. These are 568B type connectivity topology, and they plug directly into that sacrificial terminal block at the bottom that Michael talked about earlier. And they're simple jumpers over to the DMX in on the control board. I'm sure someone's going to ask me a question about, how many fixtures can we have connected on this? I don't see it coming in the chat, so I'll ask it myself. Hey, Mark, how many fixtures can I have on this transformer? And how many can I communicate to? The answer is based upon the power, exactly as Michael said. Balancing the amount of fixtures with the total power capable on the transformer is the amount of fixtures that you can have on there. Each one of those fixtures can be addressed uniquely with a standard starting address, a DMX address, or they can be grouped with common addresses, exactly as Michael said. So completely flexible. This is a 5-channel footprint, and I'll get into that in a little minute. So that's the topology. We do stay within the realm of 32 points of connection for a device, whether it's a fixture or a transformer. And, as we hit seedier, I'm going to have some more stories to tell about the capability, the expanded capability of Abacus. But Michael, for now, if it's okay, just move on to the next slide. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit about the value of Abacus for those guys on the call that haven't heard me pitch this so many times in the past. But, we took the profiles that we created for all of our fixtures and we simply added a Colorscaping one. It just allows the integrator to select profile that would pre-allocate within Abacus the DMX footprint that I just talked about. It would give you a unique starting address and it would offer up its dynamic range. And the reason those things are really important, again, talking about the value of Abacus, is that DMX footprints are not always easy to create. Sometimes we can, I've known some integrators mix up the CCT and the intensity as an example, so you get some weird things going on. If you allow Abacus to do it, it will pre-populate those 3 things. Starting addresses are always spaced by a 10 count. That's easy because, we're going to move from fixture number 1, let's say it's 10, fixture 2, 20, fixture 32, 320, and anywhere in between. Those things are allocated with 0 opportunity of any cross communication. So we limit completely the ability to fail in terms of DMX communication. And the dynamic range simply adds presets, and we'll talk about that. Presets are curated CCT values or color values. And, we built those based upon conversations with you guys. And so I'm sure some of you people are kind of putting your hand in the air and saying, hey, yeah, that was my input, and that's what they did. But presets are available to be used via the control platform. Think about it as kind of a store recall type situation that we've got there on the custom side. But platforms like Control 4, Elan, all nice these days, Crestron Home, they will just simply recall that preset that's inside of Abacus. Abacus executes what's going on, whether it's internal or external. We have the ability within Abacus to export a file. We can create files and we can constantly share them. So if we think about a couple of the homes down at the beach or some condos down at the beach, they're all very similar. You can create one file and then share it across multiple properties or multiple projects and simply edit or tweak those things. But also from a kind of store and maintenance perspective, we talked about the ease of maintenance earlier, and just makes it easier. If anything fails, you've got a backup. Not only in terms of kind of landscaping, colorscaping, connectivity, but internal too. And this is something that's kind of unique inside of the Abacus Gateway, if those few things are not unique enough. The ability to click on a guided quick start tour of how to do these things that I'm talking about today, and actually recover drivers for each of the platforms we talked about earlier. So each one's obviously unique in its own right. More so from the proxy driver perspective, but the ability to render from the control platform or from Abacus a color, a scene, a group, as Michael said earlier. And the final thing that we've got inside of the web UI, the learning tool, is access to multiple WAC fixture types, whether they are pure AiSPIRE, Aurora, Atmosphere, any of our strut type product, or in fact colorscaping. So think about Abacus as that point of connection to not only control things, but to learn on how to connect and control. And with that, Patrick, I'd like to hand it back to you or Rachel, and thank everyone for their time.
Awesome job, Mark, and thank you, Michael. Great job. We've been answering some questions in the chat box along the way, but now is an open time. If anybody has any questions about Abacus, colorscaping, landscape in general, anything about AiSPIRE or WAC, we'd be happy to answer. So, Mark, there's a question here. Does the Abacus presets follow true RGB 0 to 255?
Yes is the answer. So I hesitate a little bit. When you look at some of the UI and some of the presets on intensity, we cap out at 240. So 240 would be 100% in that case, 120, 50. But yeah, for RGB, we've got the full 256 state.
Okay, and I'm assuming everybody's been following along in the chat, some of the other questions we've had that we've tried to answer. Michael, is there anything you want to add based on the questions you saw?
No, great questions. Thank you so much. Definitely if any questions come up afterwards, feel free to send them through, and we'll be happy to get you answers.
Okay, so hopefully you all find the same thing that we believe. This is the easiest color tunable and color changing system for landscape on the market today. It's not drastically more expensive than the standard white. You can use, as Michael said, existing product on the same transformer under the second zone as you do the colorscaping. So you can use existing wiring. Mark, Abacus connecting directly to Homeworks processor without DMX?
Yeah, so absolutely. Abacus is the DMX host or gateway to our fixtures, and QSX Homeworks is communicating IP directly to the gateway. Nothing else needed.
Awesome. And there's another question about Abacus. Is it required for control system integration? And I think the answer to that is no, but you want to expound on that real quick?
I think you've already done it. So no is the answer.
It's
there's
not
so much
required. The beautiful thing Abacus does is it eliminates you having to use lookup tables to find 3000 Kelvin, 3200 Kelvin. You can type in a value to go directly to that CCT, 4751 Kelvin. So it does a lot of the work for you. But as Mark said, we follow standard DMX protocol. So if you want to do the work yourself, you can certainly do that. And Michael, more fixtures coming in the future, pendant fixtures for moonlighting and hanging. In certain parts of the country, hanging fixtures are very, very popular.
Yeah, we're always looking. Like I said earlier, this is just kind of the start for us. So we want to keep the pipeline primed. If there are fixture types that don't meet your needs, let us know. If there are fixture types that we don't have yet that you do need, definitely let us know as well.
Okay, it's 2:55. We always try to keep be respectful to your time. If there's any other questions, Mark and Michael and I will hang out here for a couple more minutes. Feel free to type them in the chat. But again, everybody for taking an hour out of your day to spend with us, learn about Colorscaping and our system. And hey, Mike, turtle friendly research and development, that came up in the chat. Do we have the specific nanometers, or is there a way to address the specific nanometers for certain Florida ordinances on?
We're looking into that. To your point, you typed it in there. It kind of varies by, there are best practices, but it does seem to vary by municipality. So we're still researching what's the best approach for us. I mean, we can create those kind of ambers, but they're more of a colored amber. So we want to be sure that meets the spirit of the requirement as well. So we are looking into that.
Yeah, so stay tuned on that, and we'll certainly try to find out the specific nanometers, how we can achieve that through our color mix, and then be able to publish that. So, Mike, they would type it into the app or into Abacus, that specific value.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right, awesome. Mark, current guide on homeworks and that's shareable.
Yeah, I mean, whoever's asking, I can send a copy. But if you go to the the AiSPIRE website, there is a learning educational piece, and you should be able to get to the center there. I'll find a link and I'll post it in the chat so that before we say goodbye, there'll be something saved as recording.
Sure. Yeah, if you go to the AiSPIRE website, scroll down to the bottom, click on resources. There'll be an education tab. There's DMX education on there as well. And absolutely, we can share the recording of this, so you can share it with the team. You can just send a note either to your rep or to AiSPIRE to sales@aispire.com. And that's AiSPIRE.com, sales@aispire.com. We can certainly send you a link to this so you can share it and hopefully answer the questions with your team. A lot of our lights are outdoor rated in wet location. We have not done a Colorscaping underwater or IP68 fixture that can be submerged, to my knowledge. Mike, correct me on that if I'm wrong.
Nope, you are correct.
Okay, we do have it in the static white in the WAC landscape lighting line, and again, you can run that off zone 2, so that would be white only. But we do not have currently a submersible Colorscaping light. We do have lenses that will go on that fixture. So if a static color is what you're looking for, if it's a commercial or hospitality environment, or the homeowner loves blue or red, you can certainly put a lens on that. But we do have an underwater light in static white now. All right, and it's 2:58. Again, there was 2 questions on getting access. Sales@aispire.com. That's AiSPIRE.com. And just send us an inquiry. We'll get you the recorded webinar once we have the recorded link after this. Yeah, we certainly can plan for a water feature type light. I think that's important. We do sell a lot of underwater lights. We don't recommend them for swimming pools. Any place that someone is that is in a swimming pool, there's specific requirements. And but our stuff for fountains and pools and koi ponds, things like that, we'll definitely take a look at how we can add an underwater light with color. And on that note, it is 2:59. Again, everybody that's still remaining, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate it. We'll have the recorded link available. Contact your rep. Go to sales@aspire.com, leave us a message, and we'll get you the recorded webinar link so you can share it. And Michael, Mark, thank you for joining. Rachel, thanks for putting this together. We hope everybody enjoyed it today. Everybody have a great day.
Thank you, sir.